Going back to maybe even the idea of the elephant, except more similar than that, it feels like there's so much in common with what we're saying. We might be using different words to describe the same things, coming from a disciplinary space, from an experiential place, from a deeply psychological, sociological, any of these things. We're all kind of getting at the same thing. And what's so nice about it is that we're kind of just dumping everything out on the floor in front of us, that it gives ourselves a chance to play with the same cards that everybody else is, so that we don't just keep them to ourselves.
Yes, that's actually a very good one, Andy. And I was feeling like that we are speaking the same language, or to use a different metaphor, we're dancing to the same rhythm, but maybe our styles are different. But what came out for me is that there is so much scholarship. There is no danger of a shortage of knowledge. We know, but in the motto of a school, East Coast, what is that school? It's not Evergreen. The name escapes me for a moment, and maybe somebody will remember. To know is not enough. What is that? Hampshire. I think it's Hampshire College. It just came. Right, yeah, yeah. So to know is not enough. And I think one of the things that for me has been clear is that we have a lot of knowledge, and now all we need is to operationalize it.
Yes, I wanted to make commentary along kind of the same lines. What really struck me is how this conference kind of serves as a microcosm for what we'd like to see in the world, all coming together, respecting each other for our differences, learning from our differences, and then finding commonalities between them in order to contribute to something positive. So I just wanted to thank you for having me today.
And I'm gonna say the same, actually. I mean, there's so many similarities. And then it goes back to our motto, multa lumina una lux. And that very quote, that was said at the first day of class. And I believe the lamp is us, and the light is what we share amongst all of us. So to how do we create peace? We have to understand what is what is personal is universal. I am for you are, same concept. So if we can understand that, and I think these types of dialogues, these types of conferences will help us get there, and these are very important. So yes, that's my answer.
I wanted to just field a question through the chat, and someone had a question on environmental impact and choosing life over death as it relates to the interconnectedness that we share with all life on this planet Earth. So perhaps maybe you can take a stab at it and speak on what you think about the environment and peace.
Yes. I think that in order to maximize the benefits of sustainability, we have to really reiterate the interconnectedness of all life on Earth to people. And when we make decisions on a global scale that are actively hurting our planet, hurting the animals that are contained within it, hurting our ecosystem, hurting our atmosphere, what we're doing is we may not be suffering today, but we're pushing off that suffering to people that will come after us. And unfortunately, they will have to deal with the consequences of decisions that were made for them, just like we at this time have as well. So I think, but in order to really drive that home, I think the interconnectedness of all life on Earth just must be really, really repeated, and not just the interconnectedness of the United States or our states within them or our cities or communities, but things that happen all the way across the world can affect you here, as we know. So I would just say to that, I would just say, again, emphasizing interconnectedness and how consequences for unsustainable decisions or decisions made for the pure motive of profit or prestige or things like that, the consequences might not arrive for that lifetime, but future generations will have to deal with that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Okay, is anybody else would like to make a comment on that? Yes, please go ahead.
Real
Kamal.
quick, I think I just want to share the quote. There's enough in this world for our needs, but not for our greeds. I think Mahatma Gandhi said that. And why I wanted to say that quote was, I remember I learned a story that the concept of pesticides. Now we use pesticides so we can grow more food, so the crops don't die. And we kill that insect in the crop. But I learned that insect is actually very important because because it keeps off other more deadlier diseases that impacts that crop. So sustainability is seen at the root level. Where is our direction? What are we doing with mass production? What are we doing with our greed? Because the world is not stable. We can sense it in the people around us, in the ecosystem, in the environment, and we have to go back. We have to go back towards sustainability.
Thank you for that. Anybody else would like to take a response to that? If not, I can go to another question.
Yeah, go to another
Okay, sure.
question.
All right. As far as with so many different organizations and competing interests and initiatives, and especially communities that are or groups that are so deeply divided, how can leaders take steps to overcome those divisions?
How can leaders take steps? I think we are all leaders. We are all entrusted with this planet. For me, I think we are not supposed to be looking elsewhere for other people to make the decisions. Granted, we can vote people in and out, we can do that so that they do their jobs, but I really believe that all of us are leaders and all of us are here to make a difference. And we don't have to have, billions of dollars or whatever it takes. But I think all of us in this room are privileged in one way or another, right? Most of us are mobile, we are healthy. And so if we use what we have to make a difference, there will be a difference in our global village.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kibukile. I kind of want to take that idea of us all being leaders and also extending that to we're all also troublemakers, and sometimes part of the problem when we don't realize it. In some sense, because we help elect leaders, if we want to look at it at that level, but also understanding this very basic thing that we as humans do when there's something that feels like it's very counter to our existence. One of our first reflexes is to escalate in the opposite direction. So if there's something we don't like done a certain way, we do it in our way even louder with higher volume. And then that escalatory system will then kind of become its own self-fulfilling prophecy. Guess who else is going to just turn their volume up on the other side? And then we turn ours up a little bit more. And I'd say that this is a very easy system to manipulate. We've seen it play out in our politics right now. We recognize the polarization, but we're not necessarily taking the responsibility for the fact that we're part of the volume amping up. And so the side of us that's the leader that I want to come back to that's particularly interesting is, and I credit the great systems thinker Donella Meadows on this, is you don't have to escalate. Like, you actually have the power to take this outside of the box and not look at it as something that you have to pound your chest to get your point across. You can change the rules of the system you're in. So there's a really great anecdote that he's a presence that I've followed for a little bit named Emile de Weaver, who focuses a lot on prison reform. And he tells a story of where he was in like a convenience store, and there was a kid who was shoplifting something. And as he was shoplifting it, the shopkeeper noticed this person was shoplifting, and so he hit the button to call the cops, and they came to arrest this guy. And there were a few people waiting in line as they saw this happen, and one person at the front of the line throws like $3 down, and the guy was like taking almost nothing. He's like, it's paid for, don't worry, he didn't shoplift anything, I bought that for him. And then a few other people said, and they threw more food on the counter and more money on the counter. And they gave this kid something to eat. And so instead of putting this kid into a system that was already set up, that was going to teach him that when you don't have food and you need to steal to eat, that you're going to then be punished for that you can change the rules completely just as a normal person by offering that kid something to eat and say, it's okay, we understand, we have excess, you can be okay now. And when you kind of take it upon yourself to change the rules of the game, that's really where this amazing leadership moment can really come in.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you, Kibakili, for reframing the definition of a leader so that we can take more personal accountability and what we can do individually. And thank you, Andy, for sharing that wonderful story of how we can de-escalate situations so that it doesn't become this pitchfork battle between us versus them and the other side. So thank you for that.